Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt a sense of calm, like nature had somehow made its way indoors? That's the quiet magic of floating botanical frame art. It's not just wall decor, it's a living impression of the outdoors, delicately preserved and displayed in a way that feels effortless and modern. At first glance, it might seem like just another aesthetic piece, but the truth is, each floating botanical frame tells a silent story of nature, captured in its purest form. Whether it's a single fern delicately suspended between two sheets of glass, or a full arrangement of pressed wildflowers dancing weightlessly on a white wall, these frames invite you to slow down, breathe in beauty, and appreciate the small wonders that usually go unnoticed in our busy lives. The beauty of floating botanical frame art lies in its simplicity. Unlike heavy frames that demand attention with their bulk, these designs often feature transparent panes, usually glass or acrylic, that seem to disappear, allowing the plant itself to become the focal point. There's something incredibly elegant about a preserved leaf or blossom, frozen in time, floating in a clear space. It's a visual reminder that the most powerful things are often the quietest. No bold colors. No loud patterns. Just the delicate, organic forms of nature held together in a gentle frame. These pieces don't scream for your attention, they whisper it. And what makes it even more fascinating is how versatile it can be. Imagine walking through your hallway and seeing a series of floating frames, each containing a different botanical specimen. One frame holds a feathery fern, another displays a pressed eucalyptus stem, and the next shows off a perfectly preserved daisy. It's like curating a botanical museum right in your own home, each piece carefully selected to evoke a feeling or memory. Maybe one leaf reminds you of a hike you took on a crisp autumn day, or a dried lavender stem recalls the scent of your grandmother's garden. It becomes personal, meaningful, intimate. What's also amazing is how these floating botanical frames adapt to different interior styles. If your home leans towards modern minimalism, a sleek black or gold frame with a single green leaf offers the perfect balance between structure and organic beauty. For rustic or boho spaces, wooden frames with wildflowers or dried herbs add warmth and an earthy charm. Even in industrial-style homes where concrete and steel dominate, a floating botanical frame can act as a soft visual contrast, a small window of life within a world of metal and stone. It's the kind of art that doesn't fight for space. It fits in, enhances, elevates. But perhaps the most touching aspect of floating botanical frame art is how it preserves a moment in time. A bloom that once soaked in sunlight and danced in the breeze is now forever caught in that one perfect stage of life. It's like photographing a flower's soul. The pressing and framing process captures not just the color and texture, but the spirit of the plant. And because these artworks are so minimal in construction, nothing distracts you from seeing that spirit. No clutter. No noise. Just nature paused. Many people also find joy in creating these frames themselves. There's a special satisfaction that comes from pressing your own flowers, maybe from a backyard garden or a special occasion. A flower gifted on a first date, petals picked during a peaceful walk, herbs from a kitchen garden. These can all be turned into timeless pieces of art. You don't have to be a skilled artist to do it. All it takes is a bit of patience, a press or some heavy books and a frame. And suddenly you're not just decorating your home. You're preserving your own history, your own connection to the natural world. And let's not forget how these frames change the way we see plants. In a garden, we might overlook the delicate veins of a leaf or the subtle gradient of a petal. But when that same plant is flattened and framed, our eyes notice the detail. The line work of nature becomes art. You see the intricate networks of stems, the tiny imperfections that make each specimen unique. It's like a microscope for the soul, zooming in on what makes nature so endlessly beautiful. Floating botanical frame art also brings a touch of seasonality indoors. During spring and summer, vibrant blooms and fresh greens can celebrate the liveliness of the season. In autumn, golden leaves and dry grasses reflect the cozy, grounding energy of fall. And in winter, even bare branches or snow-dusted pine sprigs can become minimalist expressions of the cold season's quiet beauty. It's a way to stay in tune with the natural rhythm of life, even when you're inside four walls. For many, these frames go beyond just decoration. They offer a kind of therapy. There's something calming about staring at a perfectly pressed flower. The symmetry, the softness, the memory it carries. In today's world, where we are often overwhelmed by screens, noise, and constant motion, having a still, silent piece of nature on your wall feels like an exhale. It brings balance. It centers you. Some even use them in meditation spaces or reading nooks to cultivate peace and mindfulness. Another beautiful layer is how customizable this kind of art can be. You can choose what plants speak to you, what frame materials fit your style, what arrangement feels just right. Some people go for uniformity, rows of ferns and matching frames. Others prefer eclectic collections. Various shapes, sizes and specimens like a natural collage unfolding across the wall. Some even incorporate handwritten notes, small paper tags with botanical names, or dates that mark when and where the specimen was found. Every choice adds a personal touch. There's also something quietly poetic about the floating effect itself. The space between the glass and the wall gives the illusion that the plant is suspended in air. Not fixed, not weighed down, just hovering. It mirrors how fragile and fleeting life is. These artworks almost look like they're holding their breath. There's no visible background, no artificial backdrop. Just white space, clear space, negative space. The kind of space that invites contemplation. You begin to appreciate the silence between words, the emptiness between leaves, the negative space that lets the positive shine through. People often think of art as something loud and expressive. But floating botanical frame art teaches us that silence can be expressive too. That stillness can speak volumes. That the pause, the breath, the space, these are all part of the composition. When a single stem floats within a transparent frame, it becomes not just a preserved plant, but a statement. A reminder that less can truly be more. You'll also find that this kind of art ages gracefully. While trends in wall decor come and go, bold patterns, neon colors, digital prints, the natural appeal of pressed plants is timeless. It's been around for centuries. Botanists and explorers used to press plants in journals as records. Artists turned them into compositions long before mass printing existed. And today we still turn to this simple craft to bring beauty into our homes. Because nature never goes out of style. And when guests enter your space, these frames don't just serve as decoration, they become conversation starters. What flower is this? Did you make it yourself? Where did you find this leaf? Suddenly, a simple piece of wall art turns into a story, a memory, a shared moment. It's an invitation to slow down and connect not just with nature but with each other. Floating botanical frame art holds a kind of timeless magic. It captures the fleeting beauty of nature and preserves it in a form that feels delicate yet enduring. Each frame showcases pressed leaves, flowers, herbs, or grasses suspended between two clear panels, like a snapshot of a quiet moment in the natural world, frozen in time. These pieces don't just decorate a wall or brighten a shelf. They tell a story of seasons, of stillness, of the subtle miracles we often overlook. A tiny clover, a sprig of rosemary, a yellow wildflower, each one becomes a small monument to nature's elegance. What makes floating botanical art so compelling is its sense of lightness and balance. Unlike traditional frames, there's space surrounding the preserved plant, allowing it to breathe, to float, to exist with grace. That space becomes part of the composition. Shadows dance across the wall behind it as the light shifts throughout the day, giving the piece a living presence in your home. Even in stillness, it feels alive. And that's part of the appeal. It creates a quiet connection between us and the natural world, one that isn't loud or demanding but soothing, contemplative, and real. There's something deeply personal about choosing which botanical elements to preserve. Some people collect plants from meaningful places, like leaves from a childhood backyard tree, flowers from a special trip, or herbs from a homegrown garden. When framed, those memories don't fade, they're honored and displayed in a form that blends memory with art. Others may simply choose plants for their shape, color, or texture. But either way, what ends up in the frame becomes more than just a plant. It becomes a symbol, a fragment of nature made permanent, a bridge between the outside world and our inner space. These botanical frames work beautifully across a range of interior styles. In minimalist settings, they add softness without clutter. In rustic or farmhouse decor, they echo the simplicity of country living. In modern homes, they provide an organic contrast to steel, glass, and sharp lines. You can display them singly as a quiet statement or in groups to create a gallery of seasonal changes or plant diversity. Some people even rotate their frames with the seasons, swapping in autumn leaves, spring blossoms, summer herbs, or winter greens to reflect the time of year and keep the space feeling fresh. And beyond the visual appeal, there's an environmental dimension to this art form. Floating botanical frames encourage us to pause and consider the plants around us, not just the spectacular or exotic ones, but the humble weeds, grasses, and petals that make up the rich fabric of local ecosystems. By preserving them, we acknowledge their worth. We say, "You mattered." We remember that every plant has a role, a story, and a fleeting beauty all its own. In a time when the natural world faces so many threats, This quiet act of preservation becomes a gentle, artistic form of advocacy. So whether you're drawn to floating botanical frame art for its aesthetics, its emotional resonance, or its subtle message, there's no denying its power. It reminds us that beauty doesn't always come in grand gestures or polished finishes. Sometimes, it's found in the tiny veins of a leaf, the gentle curve of a petal, or the earthy tones of a dried stem. These pieces invite us to slow down, to notice, and to appreciate what's right in front of us. And maybe, just maybe, to carry that appreciation with us in the way we treat the world beyond our walls. Floating botanical art isn't just a trend. It's a mindset, a way of seeing. A quiet celebration of life, form, fragility, and time. It brings nature indoors in a way that feels honest and grounding. And in every preserved stem, every shadow cast, every floating shape, there's an invitation to reconnect with the world, with the moment, and with something beautifully simple.